Good afternoon. I hope everybody is well. This is a little unscheduled, but I thought it was worth doing a video about. I suppose I could have recorded it and uploaded, but to be honest, I'm so used to live streaming. I hope everybody is well. Ignore the preview screen. Sorry about that. So yes, I'm so used to doing live streaming that it's as easy for me to do it in this way as to write a script and record it and then upload. So anyway, the issue I'm looking at is a problem with Sky Children of the Light. This started happening, oh grief, within the last couple of upgrades, I think. It's been going on for several weeks, as far as memory serves me. And what happens is that when you try and exit the program, under certain circumstances, which I hope to demonstrate, the program does not exit. And what you have to do is go to Steam or to the task manager and shut the game down in that fashion. And I'll try and show you that. This occurs under Windows and Linux. I run under Linux. So to make sure that it wasn't just a Linux problem, I actually posted on the official forum, got feedback confirming that no, people have been having this same problem under Windows as well for some time. I should point out that this has not been published as a known issue. And I went back as far as I think March, and I couldn't find reference to it as a known issue. And I might comment a bit more on that in a bit. But allow me to demonstrate what's going on. Just a quick setup here. You'll notice in the bottom left-hand corner I'm running a G-overlay, which is showing GPU and CPU activity. And the things that are of particular interest to us is the CPU activity. So, let's be about it and see what happens, shall we? And for this purpose I have engaged the help of my recently 200 wing avatar, named Arwen, by the way. Say hello, Arwen. So what we're seeing now is on the G-overlay display, fairly typical. What is primary to notice here is that one of the threads, the top one actually, is running at the moment 88, 89, 91%. This is fairly typical. This is, as far as I remember, I sound like Porky Pig there, I apologise. This is fairly typical behaviour. This is what I have seen in the past and what I'm used to seeing. This is what I expect. You know, that's fairly reasonable. One observation, you'll notice that even though I'm running at 180 frames a second, the GPU is not being fully utilized. That's okay, because as far as I've been able to ascertain, Sky is actually CPU limited. I think. Certainly seems that way. So, how do we actually demonstrate what's going on? Right, okay, so let us go into the Valley of Triumph. And so far, everything's pretty much all right. And the reason I'm not necessarily directly addressing the screen the entire time is because I've actually got the display over there and it's a lot easier for me to see than the one on the OBS preview. Bingo! There we go. That is what we're looking for. You'll notice at this point, at the CPU thread number 14, it's running at 100%. Okay, you might think that sounds fine. You know what? If the game's multi-threading, it's running 2 threads at 100%, I don't have a particular problem with that. The CPU temperature has skyrocketed, but that's actually part of that is because I'm live streaming, and that actually puts a bit more load on. Okay, so far so good, right? Alright. Watch what happens when I exit the program. Can you hear the music still? I've exited the program. Music's still playing. That process is still running at 100%. This is not exiting. And the circumstance of this, and I'm bringing my Steam library onto the screen right now. Hang on. Yeah. And you can clearly see there, program's still running. I have to force exit this. Now, other people have reported that they force exit using Task Manager in Windows. This is a little disconcerting. So, I will stop it. That is not a desirable method of exiting the program. It is a bit frustrating. Imagine all the Windows users having to go to Task Manager to stop the process, or to do it from Steam. I'm assuming that everybody is actually able to exit from Steam in that fashion, but I know I could be completely wrong about that. Alright, let's rerun the program. Here we go again. You notice, oh, never mind. I was going to say, you notice the CPU temperatures just dropped, but of course they would. I exited the program. I typically, by the way, run a bit significantly cooler than this. The reason this is running at got nearly 90 degrees is because I'm streaming as well, and that actually puts something like a 10%. Yeah, it puts quite a load on the CPU. Okay, so we're good at the moment. This is actually busier in terms of CPU utilization than normal, again, because I'm streaming. But, you know, temperatures in the 70s, that's not too bad. Yeah, wouldn't mind it being a bit lower, to be honest, but I run a small form factor system, and heat is definitely an issue. Let's have a little look-see. Let's flap around a bit. Nope. Still good. Yeah, everything's fine. Let's head into the hidden forest. Why don't we? Okay. Now I've got to try and fly down to the first area while trying to keep an eye on what's going on my CPU. It would be just my luck if it decided that it wasn't going to do it now. But I can say that every single run I've done in recent weeks, hey, bingo, there we go, 100% again. CPU temperatures just skyrocketed, but you would expect, that's okay. Now what's happening? I don't really know. I mean, in a way, if I assume that that game company is attempting to better multi-thread Sky, that's good, that's fine. I think it's a great idea. We could probably get better performance if the game was better multi-threaded. But, you know, I don't get to complain. I'm running at 166, 172 frames per second now. I can get up to 180, and I can't go higher than that because that's the limit of my monitors. My monitors are all 180 hertz. So I imagine you could run a lot faster if you had, say, a 240 hertz refresh rate. Okay, let's exit from that. Music's still playing. And so that is the problem. I used to be a software engineer, and that was a long time ago. In fact, technically I was a systems engineer. If I'd seen that back then, I might have said, well, hang on, is this thread safe? In other words, is this thread being managed properly? But I don't know. It jumps up immediately to 100% and stays there. Absolutely rock solid, doesn't change. Is it a race condition where, I forget what the definition of a race condition is, to be honest, where perhaps multiple resources are being attempted to use by the same two threads and a mistake is being made? I don't know. Maybe it's an accident. Maybe the second process isn't intended to be running. I really don't know. The good news is, though, it doesn't seem to affect my performance. Don't know about anybody else's, but it doesn't seem to affect my performance. I mean, I've got 180 frames a second right here. And running this, if I can get the second process to max out now, which is not going to happen. And the thing is, how can I be assured that this is Sky? Well, first of all, I exit the program and you can still hear the music. Okay, that's one way. Second of all, if I were to run the process viewer thing, you'd notice that most of the CPU utilization is Sky. In fact, hang on, I might run that. What's the tool? Nope. What's the name of the program? There we go, System Monitor. Let me pull up the System Monitor and take a look here. Alright. So, yeah, main thread running nearly 10% of the CPU, OBS running 10% of the CPU. That's fine. You're just going to have to take my word for that for right now, because I don't want that. Right, but this is, and bingo, there we go, 100%. Hadn't moved, gone up to 100%. I actually had a sort of theory that possibly this was due to maybe the music, or maybe it's just audio. But right now, nope, there we go, 100%. Happens, as far as I can tell, everywhere. Let's put that up there, and you can see here, main thread, shards of sanity. Yes, I know, that should be shards of insanity, but when I built this computer, I didn't know shards of sanity was already taken on YouTube, so I had to become shards of insanity, and I can't be bothered to change the name elsewhere. But yeah, you can see the CPU there, and if I were to stop this, well, that's interesting actually. OBS is still busy, and It worked. It actually worked. It exited. The process shut down properly. Which is, in and of itself, kind of interesting. It means that it can be shut down. It's just not doing it. That is really funny. Last time I checked the system monitor and did this, the main thread stayed up. But this time it shut down. That is, it would, every single time I've tested this, before I ran the thread and yesterday and earlier on today, any time that second thread was running at 100%, it just wouldn't shut down. And if that second thread wasn't at 100% and it was sort of background or whatever, it would shut down. That is hilarious. It would have to happen during a live stream. So we'll just do this one more time, and maybe I'll have a throw a few comments on. In case you're wondering, this has been reported in the official whatchamacallit, yeah, it has been reported in the official forums. So let's see if I can duplicate my observations. It's actually kind of funny. Right now OBS and Sky are running about the same, putting about the same strain on the CPU, which is kind of amusing. No, this is irritating, but we've only got a couple more days. I mean, that is a really bad place to put Aurora. Anytime I want to go and click on the quests for the day, yeah, you end up being asked, do you want to go and see the concert? I live streamed the concert, by the way. You can find it in one of my playlists. Yeah, I know it says darkness has fallen upon the vault of knowledge. I think today is a Black Shard day, isn't it? Actually, let me check. Just in case anybody's curious. Yep, Black Shard in the Starlight Desert, in case anybody's wondering. And so far so good. There is one other use case, actually, that I might try. We'll see what happens. See if I can duplicate it then. I'm pretty certain it can. Right now, like I say, I'm running at no cap. It's running basically synchronized to the frame rate, sorry, the refresh rate of the monitor. There we go. Right, back to 100%. Let's try and exit, and then hopefully I can show you. Yes. And so now you can see Sky is still running. It's using 6.59% of the CPU because that process is still running. It is, according to my system monitor, it's definitely Sky that's causing this problem. Well, at least it's Sky that's running the process that's causing the problem. I don't know if there is some background issue. I've seen some weird stuff happening with what was it? Prologue Go Way Back demo. But it's only a demo, so I don't have any high expectations. So there is one other use case that is worth experimenting with, which I will do right now. And that is what happens, and I'm just doing this because this is one of the things I can immediately control. If I drop the frame rate down to 60 frames a second, which is actually normally what I do when I'm streaming, by the way. I normally run the program whatever program I'm running, if I'm streaming it, I typically run at 60 frames a second. So, okay, let's give that a try. Now, in case anybody is looking at this and saying, well, maybe it's because you're running OBS, the simple answer is no. I get this when I'm not running OBS. I get this when I'm not streaming. So let's quickly go to graphics, change the frame rate to 60. There we go. It's running at 60 frames a second. I tell you what I'm going to do. I'm going to give it a fair shot. I'm going to exit and restart. It'll restart at 60 frames a second. And you'll notice it did well, you won't notice it did actually exit because that second thread was not running. Of course, apart from that one time when it was running and it managed to exit, which is hilarious. I'm sorry. Okay, running at 60 frames a second. GPU barely ticking over there. It's only using 30% of the GPU now. Let's see. Yeah, and in fact you'll notice the CPU is not particularly busy either. It's running at, that one thread is running at, yeah, a full 20-30% less than when I run at full speed. Okay, let's see. Let's see what happens. I would honestly expect it. If that second process doesn't kick in, I'd be amazed, frankly. I have not yet observed the circumstances under which it occurs, but let's be absolutely sure. Yeah, unfortunately, I can't actually see my OBS preview. It's too small on that. Hopefully it's visible here. It should be visible in YouTube if you have a large enough screen. Or if you squint real close, I suppose. So I am watching that second thread right now. Thread number 14. I think it's thread number 14. Yep, thread number 14. Wouldn't it be funny if it turned out the problem only occurs when you max out the system? I have actually seen the process ramp up to 100% and then behave, I say normally, drop down to below that. There we go. Thread just chopped up to 100%. So it's not. If it's graphics related, I don't know what it is. All I can say is if I run at 180 frames a second, which is the maximum I can manage, it happens. If I run at only 60 frames a second for streaming purposes, it happens again. And so there we go. That's what's happening. That's the current bug and issue. If you're a Windows or Linux user, this is pretty much what you can expect. As far as I know, I have not encountered any particular issues that I'm aware of on iOS, which is the tablet here. I am not aware of it happening on phones. I'm not aware of it happening on Android. A lot harder for me to check, to be honest. The thing that does slightly bother me, okay, and this is going to be a bit of a criticism of that game company, is this. I don't see how it couldn't have been noticed during testing. I really don't. It's so obvious and it happens so easily every single time you run the program for long enough. It should be on known issues, and I have checked on known issues and I haven't seen it. I simply haven't seen it. Now, I'm going to mitigate that criticism. Hello, Falsafa 2. Thank you. Appreciate it. Oh, hang on a second. Let me be polite to this person behind me. I hope they don't want to make friends. Right, not in the middle of a live stream. That would be funny. Okay, now, on the one hand, I have been just then quite critical. Sky, whoever was doing the testing should have reported it. It should be a known issue. I don't see how they could have missed it. But I don't know the circumstances of their testing. I'll put that right up front. I do know that the environment you test under isn't necessarily the same as the one that you actually run in, and I have been involved in systems testing in the past, and I can tell you that you think everything's okay, it goes out to the customers, and then something shows up which, even though you had a testing plan that was yay thick, and you've gone through everything, still something shows up. So you have to ask yourself, okay, in principle, if they knew about this problem, and I'm going to assume they did because I can't see how they didn't, why would they have released it? And actually I do have an answer for that. The simple answer is it doesn't stop the game from running. It doesn't materially affect your experience while you're running the game. Now, depending on who made the decision, they may say, well, look, the game's running fine. Yeah, we've got this issue exiting that we haven't resolved yet. We'll try and fix it later. Send it out anyway. That's entirely possible. I don't know who makes that decisions at that game company, or even if it was that game company making the decision. I don't know who would be responsible for saying that. You also have to bear in mind that not only are they releasing for Windows, they're also releasing for every other platform. Switch, PS4, Xbox. It run on Xbox, iOS, Android. They try and release all of these things at once, and it could simply be that everything else was good. The Windows version has this problem, and yet they've got to release for the other platforms, and so therefore it's worth their while to go ahead with the release and try and fix it later. That's a business decision, and I can actually understand that. They might well have had no choice but to go ahead and release it with this issue. Now, like I say, in practical terms, most people probably won't notice a problem. It doesn't seem to affect performance. Doesn't seem to affect any gameplay issues that I'm aware of. There is apparently a known issue of audio issues running at max frame rate, but I can't remember the details. I don't know whether that's involved or not. Systems can be very funny things. You'd be amazed how one issue affects another issue. But for people like me and other Windows users, you exit. Now, for me, it's a case of, oh, I've exited the program, it hasn't stopped. Click on stop on Steam and off you go. That's no problem. But I got a report that somebody else was having to stop the program from the system manager, the task manager in Windows. That's not something that every Windows user is necessarily going to be aware of, especially if they're young, if they're old, oh heck, in between. There are going to be people out there who are going to be deeply frustrated by the fact that they exited the program and it hasn't stopped running. And if they did exit, didn't notice, and then went on to do something else, conceivably, it could affect the performance of other multi-threaded systems. Conceivably. So anyway, that is pretty much what this stream was all about, and yep, it's still running. And you can clearly see here, I think, yep, you can clearly see that it's still running. Sky Children of the Light running, and that thread is still at 100%. It's doing something. So anyway, I think that's pretty much all I have. I hope you found that interesting. I hope it's an explanation if you've been having the problem and you've been wondering what you can do about it, or how it comes about, or something. If there's anything that I haven't covered, I mean, I'm not in a position to obviously read minds or delve into background causes. I've already speculated, maybe it's not thread safe, maybe there's a race condition, maybe it is I don't know, maybe it's something completely off the wall. Honestly, your guess is probably as good as mine. I will say it's not likely to be gremlins or pixies or supernatural beings with fairy dust. I think we can rule that out as a possibility. Anyway, I hope you all have a good day. I hope this was moderately entertaining and informative. And I will see you all next time. And this is the part at which I say, if you've enjoyed any of this, please feel free to leave me a like and subscribe. I do generally run something most mornings, typically the long dark during the week, and right now I'm running the long dark winter mute on Sundays, and then Saturdays are typically completely open to run something else. Tomorrow, which is Saturday the 21st, I won't be streaming, but the following week I will be.